right now.
Our people have to believe people. That's what they do. Ready?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Hi, everybody. Hello. Welcome. It's nice to have. It's worthwhile to take notice how during the Donald Trump inauguration, like his Republican predecessor, no poets were invited to read. It's very simple. There's no ever invested interest in poetry in their, I would say, insular orbit. On the other hand, the poet, who I have met several times, Elizabeth Alexander, read at Obama inauguration on January 20th, 2009. And similarly, Maya Angelou read at Obama's inauguration in 2009. Did I say that already? Yeah, all right. So probably someone else read Bill Clinton. That was Bill Clinton. That's 93. That's right. And I believe that James Dickey read as Jimmy Carter in 73, 77, I think, because the film was made in 72. Both of them is from Atlanta, so it makes sense, where Jimmy Carter was the governor, and James Dickey was famous for having written the novel Deliverance that made into the movie, the highest gross movie in 1973. But the most famous one was Robert Frost, reading the John F. Kennedy inauguration, 1961. And in the light of what's going on today in the Trump divisive administration, I can't help but to think of what John F. Kennedy had to say in the following. When power leads men to arrogance, poetry reminds him of his limitations. When power narrows the area of man's concern, poetry reminds him of the diversity of experience and the richness of experience. When power corrupts, poetry cleanses. This is something that we all never read in college. Baudelaire say, all healthy person can live without food for 2 days, but never poetry. Never poetry. In our daily one famous lunch every day. We always end with a poem reading by a member of our staff. Depend on how he, she, or they pick the poem from the day before and whatnot. And that would be it. Poetry to the Brooklyn Rail is the true conscience that somehow keeps every other section in the rail relevant in its on-the-spot swiftness, I would say, or right-armed promptitude. It's our way to counter, it's our way to, I guess, go again, to rail against the insolence and the arrogance and the ignorance that, especially when it inflicts the divisiveness among our fellow human beings. So I grew up with poetry all my life, and that's how I feel about poetry. And it's nice now with a young artist who just made this work in the Williamsburg Gallery. He's very young. His name is Louis Moses, who's here. So it's nice to have his work in the background for the poet to read. Thank you. Thank you, Louis. And Diego and her partner, Lucia, who had been a production assistant around years ago, and now part of this incredible magazine. It's called diSONARE, based in Mexico City, where Anne had gone and visited, and we spent some terrific time together. And now they are here to celebrate the number 8 issue. And I remember it was during the Come Together Surviving Sandy monumental show that we actually curated here in 2013, that the formation of how diSONARE came about in the same time. So we sort of grew up together, and it's nice for us, the rail, to observe how handsomely diSONARE have came together and survived all the arts. And it's just terrific to have both of them here. So without ado, please join me to welcome both Lucia and Diego.
Hello everyone, good night. It's great to have you here. And thanks for the words. Really want to appreciate and thank the Rail for their mentorship and how inspiring it is to come here every year and so on. So thank you to all, thank you to all the staff. Charlie, John, thank you for making this happen. And now Lucia's going to tell you a little bit more about our project. And I hope you enjoy the list of readers we have for you tonight. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much to everyone that came out tonight. It is really an honor to have this event here in New York and to feel part of this great community that the Brooklyn Rail has built over all of these years. For me, working at the Rail was always so inspiring. I felt very connected with the way they perceive art, they perceive poetry, and for us as artists and publishers has always been a monument, very important part of our lives. And diSONARE always has been a bridge between the New York community and the Mexican community, an international artist, a transgenerational project as well. So it is really an honor to be here. And also, this issue is on film, poetry, and alchemy, and it was something that came, or it started in our minds last year. We arrived to New York from Mexico City when Jonas Mekas died, the same day. So it really felt like a passing of the fire or something like that. And we want to honor all the poets, all the filmmakers, and people who really think in alchemical terms, in terms of transformation and how we can transform ourselves and our community through the arts. So please welcome all these great artists from Mexico, from Chile, from New York. The first, we'll introduce each reader. The first one is Francisca Benítez. She's a New York-based artist from Santiago, Chile. Her work looks into the relationships between space, politics, and language, building close relationships with place and the communities she works with. Her work has been exhibited in biennales, international events, museums, and galleries. So please welcome Francisca, and all the writers, poets, and artists are of course part of this great issue that you can see there. And thank you so much to Diego, my partner, and to Fong and all the community from the Brooklyn Rail, and to Tatina as well, the great designer from diSONARE and co-editor, the poet Zazil Collins, who came from Mexico City for this reading, and all the poets that are here tonight. Please welcome everyone. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for inviting me. So I'll do a little introduction first. I was invited to be part of this issue, diSONARE, by Lorena, my collaborator. You can see our collaboration in the magazine. And I'm gonna recite a poem that is in the magazine. It's called "You Have Given the World Your Songs," and it's a poem that was composed in American Sign Language. I would like to ask you a question before I continue. How many of you know American Sign Language or fluent? No? Hey, excellent. And how many of you speak Spanish? All right. So I'm going to do this thing. It's a really short poem. It lasts like a minute. And I'm going to do the poem 3 times. And I'm going to interpret in English first over the poem. It's a little clunky because it's difficult for me to sign and speak at the same time. The second time, I'll repeat the poem and I will do the translation in Spanish over it. And by the third time, we'll all understand it, and it will be just the pure sign language. Also, I would like to say this is a poem that was composed in the logical sign language, and I am using a structure that is very commonly found in deaf poetry events and in the deaf poetry vernacular, I would say. Just like, for example, in Latin American poetry, we have the decima, which is a 10-verse structure. It's very common to find when you go to a poetry event, improvisations in these very tight, rigid structures. Let's say a poem with just 2 hand shapes, or a poem in a very rigid sequence of hand shapes. And that's the one that I've been working in. Surprisingly, there's this connection between the poem from 1 to 10 in deaf communities with the decima in Latin American poetry. So I will show you, so you understand a little bit, the numbers in American Sign Language go like this. I will show you the numbers from 1 to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So those are the shapes for those numbers. Like this hand shape that you do a number 10 with is this hand shape, right? It's like this. This same hand shape, if I go like this, that's 10. If I go like this, and I go like this, you say it's the same shape, but this means together, right? So you will see that this structure, it's this very rigid structure that goes from 1 to 10, and the narration goes in this sequence. One last thing, the poem was inspired by a lithograph by Elizabeth Catlett from 1947 called I Have Given the World My Songs. With tears in my eyes, I think about the black struggle from so long ago. The struggle, painful. My voice comes out awkwardly, surrounded by an audience who looks at me. All of a sudden, a rainbow appears and it inspires me. Sadness becomes music. From my guitar and the piano, my song spreads all over the world and into the stars. Not hate. Find freedom. It's so important to continue every day together to freedom. Con lágrimas en los ojos, pienso en la lucha negra. Desde tanto tiempo atrás, la lucha dolorosa, la lucha. Mi voz sale torpemente, rodeada de una audiencia que me mira. De pronto un arcoíris me inspira y el dolor y la pena se vuelve música. De mi guitarra y mi piano, mi canto se esparce por el mundo y hasta las estrellas. No al odio, encontrar la libertad es crucial. Continuar cada día junto a la liberación. Gracias.
Thank you, Francisca. Our next reader is an artist, writer, and educator based in New York City. Please welcome Zimmerman.
I can't reach this, but it's okay, we can stay here. But first, Chloe will show a 1-minute film and then she'll read her poem, which is connected to the poem.
Great lights.
Writing about stars and how to join the stars and the Earth as an ecosystem. Somehow the stars have got separated from us, and our articulation of stars is these gigantic physical processes, whereas you could also depict like a human being as cellular respiration. I'm trying to include the heavens as something that's not separate from our own ecosystem.
So that's a little bit of a work in progress. That's kind of it's a film correspondence with a poet named Person through her kind of poetry process. And I'm going to read a little bit of a poem that's in diSONARE, and it's really kind of correspondence with the call that Diego and Lucia put forward, so thank you guys for the inspiration. And I'll just read a part of it, but it's called Analog, Text for a Live Film. Out of a certain net of being, a supernova flees, exploding faintly, inspiring desire neutron stars collide, so that silver materializes and ghosts, celestial dust at first diaphanous and scattered, then with heft, ringing into densities of cloud, lured into planetary formation, silver shelters in the shape, hurled and crusted over, a momentary keeping. Within an edging of time, continental plates heave against their peripheries, water siphons into the gaps, silver salts let loose that cling, dissolve towards brine that seeps from seabed, scatter silver onto seafloor, an arrival shining, laced and coy, or silver ruptures the surface, nestles into cracks of a nebulous and ever-forming crust and veins there. There is the surface of celluloid, so bathed in vagabonding silver, each ecstatic stroke of light on film, a black gashing, as silver atoms bond together, chemically coalesce into shadow, collusions of a process shifting, silver thickening in response to electromagnetic waves that skimmed the distance, this coagulation by starlight, this blackening by sun. The word alchemy is threaded through with black earth, with the Egyptian etymological root of chem, an allusion to the fertile soil of the river valley, alluvial, strewn with silt, capaciousness from which crops burst before leafing and then stooping towards decay, evocation of contour from contour, and ever seeking towards primal form. Like astral light on earth-mined silver, this stellar haunting, burning brightly, a fusion of flame. Analog film shot through with sun as star-to-star communion, an image yielding colloquy, a shared projection. In alchemy, as above, so below, resonance of the heavenly and terrestrial spheres is known as the doctrine of correspondence. Correspondence as in an agreement of things, as in a similarity, as in text shuttling from hand to hand or surface to surface, or wind fluctuating desirous from mouth to mouth. Correspondence as a collective answering of a shaping over time, correspondence as a vibratory, a teeming, resounding from resonare to sound again. Silver, a supple metal, is prone to crystallization, recrystallization to a continuous restructuring. Silver acquiesces, struggles to hold form, entangles instead with copper, nickel, zinc, and lead. So easily is it animated by heat and spark, so surely its electrons deflect all visible light, shining in a collective body forth of waves, a spectral tide. Moving images first danced on silver-coated film with potential for the shifting shapes to burst to flame in projector heat. In laboratories, spent film is burned, the ashes leached, the silver leaping, or processing solutions are recycled into dissolutions, so swimmed with silver, so that this malleable metal may slip from image to image, suspended anew and anew in emulsion. From image to image, from hand to hand, the silver slips, mined as currency, as cultural projection. Ghost singing origin stories of war, of humans forced to tunnel into earth, of mules coerced to walk in circles, pulverizing ore, ghost singing the gutted peaks, the blasted land, the tapped veins. A spectral hunting here that's inescapable in every bloated silver grain. I'm going to stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Chloe. Our following reader is a fabulous writer who collaborated on a few issues of the magazine. Please welcome Rey Pérez.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm going to read a bit of the piece that's in diSONARE, the issue. It's just a small section of a much longer work on a film called Rey Pérez that came out in 1960 that stars perhaps Mexico's most famous actor, Cantinflas. And it was his second film that was produced by Hollywood and produced in English. I'm kind of new to performing or presenting with technology, so I didn't think about the idea that I could project the images. So hopefully it makes sense, because the way that it works in the book is that there are some screenshots of different screen captures of different parts of the film, and then a small piece that's written in response to them. Dissolved to the Belalo unlike the clown, dreaming a yellow dress and mansion hood. That's good. Pepe knows Chicano life's a gamble, the optimists make ruins and porn. Here, a nice red suit, a maypole translated across ocean via pre-rationalist, immensely enjoyed practices. A set of kitsch-constructed Acapulco Pangala, one typecasted blonde mandate, the gay white horse, a slight stereotyped gaff, two film industries coincidentally, bullfighting, 35 cameos of star quality, was the Hollywood follow-up to the success of the one based on Jules Verne. So who has a strut as happy as Pepe? That's what I think about. That's what I write down. So who has a strut as happy as Pepe? Each word finds its way onto my face that takes up the space of the screen. And now I'll read from a different work that is about a market in Mexico City. That doesn't really have much to do with film, but I think it has a lot to do with alchemy. It's one of Mexico's most famous markets. It's called Tepito, which is also a neighborhood, a barrio in Mexico City. You can basically find just about anything you want in this market. So I've been sort of walking around and visiting the market for a couple of years now, and purchasing a lot of just like different kinds of knickknacks, or what you could call chachara in Spanish, and then writing about these different objects. And so I'll just read one little part The way this piece works is that there's an object, a poem, that responds to it, and then particular words in the poem have these kinds of footnotes or sub-poems in response to them. So this object is a football jersey of the Mexican national team. Demonic representations of collectivity aim for easy enunciations. Pride is fine kin as mass. Question of the gross nationalism figures into amorphous, self-ascribed culture, the way of practice to make imitation, style, or deviate. Demonic. People closed in to remove remainders, a bird's eye view. One environment is there, like drawing in the city. If not the love, then the will of God, I argue. Every day, permissiveness, the permission to reign. Persuasion moving about in the truncated syllables. All the smarmy orators rescind, ornate, antiquidad in practice might be babble outside of politics. The very debito sleight of hand, this practice of enduring, I did but prompt the age to put their clogs on straight a barbarous noise environs me. Collectivity. Si se necesita un sacrificio, renuncio a mi parte y agarro a la suya. If a sacrifice is needed, I'll renounce my part in it and take yours. Easy. Outside of register, but in the middle of the unarticulated, I was there. I was facilely closer to feasible and meaning. The slow circumventing malaise to work 6 days, make up inexplicable energy immediately. Edwin Lozano scores us one goal. The announcement emphasis on the O, televised nationally. Liquid pork rinds complement the appetite. Who would have confused putting at ease with routine? Repetition conjugates much less. There a promise for narrative to be partly entertaining the crowd in the end. Pride. I go to Oxo in the morning. Ambivalence of worth overwhelms. Call it cosmic tide. Happening now, virulent trump loy of the loins. The forced perspective, 1 week ending, combating both demo Kerouac with spear on precipice. Because of naked breath, it conflagrates like the eagle swooping down. It has to be said, without excuse or debut. Directions go heterogeneously beyond pockmarks. Chalino's coveted gold deck. Was that the type of man who, when he loses, doesn't cry? It was the people who was everyone. Gross. Big and great total acquiesces in the ekphrastic and vulgar totality. Eloquentia to push forward outlines of green jerseys. Iconic white stripes beginning on the shoulder down, delineated triceps to forearm and wrist, moving angrily across the sportive grain, wetted with sweat. 11 groomed semblances of deeds. Now that good and word is already act, who think much of it is avatars. Experimental theories and required people, persons, not the usual singular gallivant. Collectively, someone well into the corpse, or collectively, someone's coming together, totalizing the common enemy carved into my body. The pornographer's liking always framed a two of obscene and ordinary. Practice. Fabrica, forger, smith. In English, a false friend. Deviate. Turn your shirt inside out, said the friend, when turned on the aisle. Cocaine and knotted balloons pop out, anus, oh friend. Here at the back of the throat with the drips. Cops rave to be bored or safe. Yet history, so you have to keep up vigilant. Loitering under an accrual of stalactites. Similarly, I meant a circulation of that talked in this atmosphere. Spaniards arrived, mortified, untoward heebie-jeebies in the vice royalty. According to literature, the word chingad too was terrible, the loss of a sibilant S, exchanged to garner lana, wool from the textile plants. So too it occurred in 2019. Due to the times of safaris, we sniff as a precautionary snort, deep vitamigas from a styrofoam chalice. To a place and time of dressing up, we slip back a hand in the hair. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. The next speaker is Zazil Alaíde Collins. Zazil is the author of the books Tronqui de la Nada, No Todas las Islas, El Corazón, Tan Cerca de la Boca, Sibofel, and Pink. She is a poet, musical curator, and broadcaster, and co-edits the bilingual project Musicians in Mexico City. Please welcome Zazil.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, diSONARE, Lucia and Diego. It's great to be here and share poetry. I have a couple of poems. Of course, my first language is Spanish, so I have the translation to English. If someone wants to read the translation, it would be great. If no, my partner is that my pronunciation in English will be maybe weird, but I will try it. So this is like Inedit's poems, and this is the first one. La vida comenzó en los ojos de la tortuga, en su rostro adusto, y en mis manos de gorila blancas, como el blanco del primer poema. Como una muerte casi cierta, entre el templo y los colmillos, pupilas y dentadas. De vano, gameo el ovillo en el bejuco, engarzo su hilo invisible, entre claveles y vincas, durante 7.200 años de neblina, en los que todas las brujas dirán lo mismo, que la estrella clandestina, al tambor del caparazón, abrirán los montes de las gargantas, la señal del destello. Y mis manos de gorila, al ritmo negro de la poesía, serán un puño para el silencio, como el blanco del primer poema, como una muerte casi cierta, en el tragaluz pineal de la tortuga que devora este mundo.
Life began in the eyes of the turtle, in its grim face, and in my gorilla's hands white, like the white of the first poem, like an almost certain death, between the temple and the fangs, pupils and dentition. I spin, I canvas needle the skin in the vine, I seam its invisible thread between carnations and vincas. During 7,200 years of haze, in which all witches will say the same, that the clandestine star to the carapace drum will open in the mouths of the throats the exile signal, and my gorilla hands to the black string of poetry will be a fist for silence, like the white of the first poem, like an almost certain death in the pineal skylight of the turtle that holds this world on.
And the next one is just in Spanish, a couple more. The name of this is Puedo Querer, and have an epigraph of Atahualpa Yupanqui. Puedo querer, soy libre, soy bueno y puedo querer. Amo un hombre rodeado por fantasmas, mas entre sus escombros no es quebranto mi voluntad con la que le digo te quiero, por la fragilidad que existe entre nosotros, cual balada de bruma que los surcos entonan. Yo soy la luna, águila negra, águila blanca, en mis tendones cada nota triza la arena de este país deprimido. Cada segundo la almena a la que confiamos el socorro de sus caminantes. Heredamos las veredas y unas cuantas palabras para despertar del sueño de los ilotas y refundar lo que en sus bocas se queda corto, como la prepotencia de una poesía que desvanece ante quien no tiene causa. Revientan las cuerdas, la paloma, cueca, cueca, en la corola del capataz, cueca, cueca, disfraza el coraje, con una vida secreta que germina en la neblina del verano, cuando todos mienten, después del temblor, mienten más. Como Prater, no me interesa trabajar por dinero, porque hay una canción de algodón y la piel de los tambores y la voz de la almendra y el paisaje tibio de heno que me llaman y susurran. ¿Existe el amor? Sucumbo al hálito de sus sirenas para defender el sustento dentro de esta oscuridad, donde el corazón es una punta de flecha y cada flecha el porvenir, tuyo, mío, nuestro. Amo a un hombre rodeado por fantasmas, a quien reconozco al abrazar su rencor en el olvido de sobremesa, para estrechar la mano de un amigo, como la primera vez que Olo vibró en el pico de los pájaros y silbó al fuego que el hambre es infamia. Como una mujer remolino el día del temblor, yo soy la luna, en mi ojo izquierdo, Maldoror es la mañana. Los tatuajes del odio nos recuerdan que no somos dueños de nuestro destino, pero en este campo, notado de telares y refugiados, encontraremos los galones debajo de un muro que será agua. Sí, seremos savia. Yo soy la luna y hago de mi camino un borde para conmover con imaginación a ese soberbio hombre que vive rodeado por fantasmas, que cree en la magia, pero no en ser corazón. Yo soy la luna, águila blanca, águila negra. Soy libre, soy buena y puedo querer. I think I will finish with this one because we are a lot of poets this night. And the context of this poem, I wrote a book like 4 years ago in a season that I was coming a lot to New York. And I never met Jonas, but friends of mine, I know that they was very close friends with him. So this poem, it's for a drummer called Darius Noyo. The title is Noyo Hotel. And as blue tortillas creak in an attic, Darius recedes. The glass is full and the cheese is on the plate. The night where we are poets broadcasting sure waves from Noyo Hotel. Muere el mal gobierno, motherfuckers. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Zazil. Our next reader is a New York-based writer. She's the writer of the book Very Like a Whale. Please welcome Kaitlyn A. Kramer.
Thank you. Does everyone know who Chris Marker is? Can you raise your hand if you know who Chris Marker is? Okay, thank you. That's good. When the editors told me about the concept for this edition, I thought about Jonas as both a filmmaker and a writer, and Chris Marker is someone else who I think in the same synonymous criteria. So I'm going to read from the beginning of the essay I wrote in here. It's called He Wrote Me. The first image he told me about was of 3 children on a road in Iceland in 1965. This recollection, introduced by a female voice's leveled narration, is spoken into a silent black screen. Filmed footage of the children, shot by the male addresser, interrupts the black expanse as the narrator's recitation continues, describing it as the image of happiness. Along a rolling greenway, the 3 children stroll hand in hand, leading one another in a deliberate yet peculiar composition, illustrative of the constant play afforded by childhood, where the routine act of walking can be reinvented as a game. As they move along, their identically blonde heads glowing against the green, each child's gaze catches the camera's eye, provoking hesitant smiles. The scene only lasts a few seconds, which is just enough time for the narrator to relay the filmmaker's inability to link it to other images, despite his attempts. He wrote me, "One day I'll have to put it all alone at the beginning of a film with a long piece of black leader. If they don't see happiness in the picture, at least they'll see the black." The black leader reappears as she speaks, followed in silence by the film's title. Thus begins Sans Soleil, a deluge of images that unfold like memory in happiness's wake. He wrote me. Intimate yet distant, the phrase repeats throughout the film like a heartbeat, where language instructs the rhythmic pulse of its images of distant places. Sans Soleil comprises the letters of a fictitious cameraman named Sandor Krasna, read by their recipient, voiced by Alexander Stewart in the film's English version entitled Sunless, who synthesizes his words over visual souvenirs shot in Japan, Cape Verde, Guinea-Bissau, San Francisco, Paris, and Iceland, the site of the image that haunts him. And in turn, the man behind the mask of Sandor Krasna is the specter of his own film. Chris Marker's name does not readily appear in the credits, yet his presence saturates every frame. Decades worth of film, captured during his anonymous travel, with few exceptions of borrowed footage, are paired with the narration he himself authored, and he even composed the subtle cacophony of music that occasions Sans Soleil's erratic pace. When we look closely to see Marker's touch in every fiber of his film, we find a man who looks toward the images of his past in an attempt to understand the very nature of memory represented in the present. I'm writing you all this from another world, a world of appearances. In a way, the 2 worlds communicate with each other. Memory is to one what history is to the other, an impossibility. Legends are born out of the need to decipher the indecipherable. Memories must make do with their delirium, with their drift. A moment stopped would burn like a frame of film blocked before the furnace of the projector. Madness protects as fever does. Often referred to as the best-known author of unknown movies, Marker was a traveler through and beyond history, intent on communicating his own method of seeing to those willing to engage with its codes, playful and adventurous. Relayed through his camera, his experiences translate into images recognizable even to the most unfamiliar viewer who might witness his vision in a far distant future. He was never in these images himself. They only revealed what his eyes could take in. Instead, he orchestrates the past's spontaneous manifestation into something tangible, relatable. Film scholar Ian Christie called him a techno-shaman. He was a writer first. He wrote travelogues for Petite Planète and film criticism for Cahiers du Cinéma before destructing the conventions of the medium with his innovative ciné-roman La Jetée. He wrote poetry before capturing its gaze in the eyes of every man and woman who would stare back into his lens. He even wrote a novel, which prefigures his mode of address in the filmic work that would follow, repeating the phrase of sentimental distance, somewhere a long way off. In Marker's cinema, in the many forms it takes, he upheld the mystique of language by using its powers to further illuminate the visual images. In his 5-channel video installation, Silent Movie, he He combines thematic images from silent films with a collection of silent-era intertitles, telling short, mysterious pieces of unknown stories through the text's abstract illustration of the quiet, moving images, empty signifiers of familiar codes of movement and gesture. With Sans Soleil, he juxtaposed the documentary film he shot on a 16mm silent film camera and digitally manipulated images composed through a synthesizer with letters containing his musings, associations, and reverence for the future, disguised as inclinations of a fictitious other. Nonetheless, he writes to us. He writes of distant wars, of the captivating faces found in every culture, of lore of a temple consecrated to cats, of the memories these shrines evoke within him. He considers the images he sees and how each signals a historic moment that transpired in the same place, perhaps imperceptible, yet undeniably embedded in the land, such as the site of an airport built in Narita in the 1960s, which the city's peasants revolted against. He visits the city on the occasion of a gathering to honor one of the victims of the struggle, and imagines being there then, participating in the protest, and how nearly indecipherable the scenes of past and present might have been, aside from the addition of the airport itself. This thought breeds a desire to devise a treatment for these images, not to better portray reality, but to make evident its vision at the site of memory. My pal Heyo Yamaniko has found a solution. If the images of the present don't change, then change the images of the past. He showed me the clashes of the 60s treated by his synthesizer, pictures that are less deceptive, he says, with the conviction of a fanatic, than those you see on television. At least they proclaim themselves to be what they are, images, not the portable and compact form of an already inaccessible reality. Whether Marker is situating us as viewers within his own unique perspective, or offering fragmented metaphors for the most nuanced experiences of being human, he provides us with the media that provokes and complicates our memories of past events, tantalizing the means by which they are summoned, where language is the wolf and image is the war. It's not that cinema failed Marker, for he would continue making films throughout the 6 decades of his career, but his preoccupation with looking, and specifically looking toward the future, toward society's unknown possibilities, called for consistent engagement with technology and its advances. When the first Apple computer was released in 1978, Marker saw opportunity for potential using this apparatus to create innovative composition through now primitive digital techniques. Manipulated from his pre-existing filmic and photographic footage, these semi-abstract technological creations seem to exist outside space and time, floating in the arena of memory. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kaitlyn. Our next poet is Nolan. Nolan is an artist, poet, photographer, born and working in New York City. As a poet and vocalist, she has performed and collaborated works at Jazz Fest Berlin, La Mama Galleria, and other venues. She released Authentic Artifacts, an art book of poetry and photographs published by Mills, New York. Her photojournalistic work has been published by Levy Gallery, the Brooklyn Rail, the Village Voice, the Independent, Bill Moyers, and others. In November 2018, her cinema poem Crepuscular, a collaboration with poet Anne Waldman, premiered at the Poetry Project. And Nolan and Anne have a collaboration in the issue, but tonight they'll read separately and perform their poems separately. So please welcome Nolan.
Hello, I'm very grateful to be here. Grateful to Anne for collaborating with me on some photographs that tonight has some poetry. And also just want to mention the incredible community between New York and Mexico City which defies all the government narratives that work. There's a wonderful exchange going on. I was lucky to travel there in 2017. And I'll keep it going. An angel of compassion has flown, gone to some distant shore, won't see her here anymore. It's highly subjective, notable, but I heard it true that the angel of compassion has flown. She retired, she put on a black suit. She said, I'm gonna roam around this ether now and do what I wanna do. They say she's a bluffer. They say she's got a new method act. They say her natural wellspring glimmer of compassion is gonna flood quite naturally back. But there's nothing more that anyone can say, believe, or do. The angel of compassion has flown. Is it true? Is it true? Is it true? He started typing on my face, and from his hands exuded a type fact that could permeate a vast number of mutations to comprehend their fate as usually turning and spinning and rotating and spinning around and around and around and around and around and around, excruciating, rotating. I start to lie. I lie down in another field, traveling to the expulsion of their minds, garden to the expulsion of their minds, asylum. When the gods of communication descended onto this planet, originally they were thieves, naming. There's been a massacre on the mystery, on the sacred. In the water for the suffering, blessed rock in the palm of the poet, encircling all things with an invisible ring of healing crowns for the quiet, badges for the undercovers, scattered throughout the centuries with ladders left, propped behind the curtains for those taking their sweet artist time slow. This is a piece for its departed friend. Liberty pursued must flee. The de-arrest looked like this, with all of them running back and forth across the Brooklyn Bridge. Moment to moment, shapeshift, he could turn himself evil, he could turn himself good, he could turn himself evil, he could turn himself good. Coward brave, coward brave. Bearing prophecies and suggestions to the state. Thrust down into speedy cement our protagonist, in the process of being saved by his comrades, got a taste of an off-road with them pulling on his bottom half and escape, gnawing at his mind and posture. Though he woke in a cell block, he later transformed his cells, and by night was back on his tricks, roaming parks past the final hour, talking to night and to people he said were really there. The de-arrest was his tiny lick taste of freedom. He was set off and spun out on the feeling of it, and at any time he needed, he could shut his eyes and access the feeling of escape. Illuminated, be him at the summit or in the valley, the lid of arrest and confinement had blown off, the valve forever opened. No more would he walk like a silent cat concealed among his exploding visions. And if he was destroyed now in ecstatic flight, so what? At least he would have seen him. His visions pasted on the rim of the blast. Didn't matter to him now where he sat, in a coffin, in a cell. He was reckless by design, and he had to follow his own nature. Few could escape these rituals and positions, but he did, throwing himself like a wild mare into the ocean, into the police line, thrashing like life was on the verge of collapse. He rammed headfirst into poetry and starved himself for 3 whole nights. He pontificated on the theme of entitlement and said, if some cannot eat, I shall not eat. If some cannot live, I shall not live. If some cannot dance, I shall invent new forms of dancing like a magician who rewires the place, shoving tears back up into the ducts, and he roamed the streets at night, singing to himself, climbing various needles up into the boiling heavens and down into clandestine undergrounds. He invented codes none could see. In a courthouse, proving his sanity, he was Houdini riding free. He was called by any name. He was music, whirling through the vacuum, turning to electric, fume void of form. All structure pulverized into cloud. He was wild and free, so free that one day we couldn't see him anymore. Liberty pursued, must flee. Was on a far-gone planet, summoning virtue all to crave. On a silent bow while speaking, on a silent bow while speaking, I was in an altered state. It took work to land back down again, treasure with a tiny morsel of grace. Took a rock quite riskily, did the massacre on mystery. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Noel. Our next reader is Anne Waldman. She's a poet, performer, curator, activist, author of over 40 books of poetry. Her most recent book is Trickster Feminism, and from Pink Ring 2018. She is the recipient of a Guggenheim and the American Book Award from the Before Columbus Foundation for Long Life Achievement. A founder and former director of the Poetry Project, she also co-founded the Jack Kerouac School of Disembodied Poetics with Allen Ginsberg and Naropa University. And it's an honor to have Anne. We've collaborated in the past year because of many different connections, but she's been really a force for diSONARE as well, and for us in Mexico and in New York. So please welcome Anne Waldman. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I'm going to be joined by Devin Raja Waldman, my nephew, and we'll do the piece from diSONARE, which is called Questions for Citizens, under rubric of investigative poetry, that poetry should again assume responsibility for the description of history. Ed Sanders, that's a quote from Ed. So, I invite you to create your own list of poems for citizens. If you have any questions, queries for citizens, questions for citizens. When was the Federal Reserve created, and by whom? Who was second in command to Jefferson Davis and considered the brains of the Confederacy? What was the primary material factor in British seed domination. What was Ezra Pound right about? How many things don't make sense about the very straight theory of migration? What does that mean? Who invented the Confederacy and why? Do you accept the premises of the war fiction? Do you accept the findings of the war fiction? Who assassinated Hassan Khan? Where did the assassination take place? Who was Hassan? And what was doing? And why did the Confederacy have to import hay from Europe? And who assassinated Zazil Alaíde? And where did this take place? And who was Zazil Alaíde? And what happened in Bengal during World War II? And what is the term false flag? Please identify it. Please choose. And you can stand down because you're amazing. And you accept the findings of the 9/11 Commission report. And you think evidence of the U.S. government of historical demolition of buildings on 9/11 or on any other days. And why did U.S. and British forces just provide cover for up to 4,000 people associated with ISIS including fighters? And you think this is the case? And you think governments of the U.S. government capable of creating this? And you think this is the case? And who assassinated Jonas Mekas? And where did this happen? And who runs Jonas Mekas? And where was Soha Ishaya in prison? And why was she in prison? And who is she, Soha Ishaya? And who kidnapped Mordecai? And where did this happen? Where are we? Why so much focus on Russia? This is the Palestine, Israel here. And whose interest is this apartheid? And what does the caliphate want? The Western countries, at least 2,300 miles apart, were attacked by missiles the same day by power 8,000 miles away. How the blood and as one see here for the transitions of our lives and aggrandizing 6 which is a predatory gesture, but the face and the jaw and the mouth related to Addison. I did not declare it so. Did you see that? What's the modus operandi? Where is he now? Ice, pizzazz, and the rest stands, E.G. We're coming for you. We're coming to kill you. Who designs these ads? And why do you borrow this strategy from our perceived enemy? What is poetry struggle in this culture? And do you know what a Kaitlyn is? Do you know how many days you might freeze in the air? Why is the reaction of white people so scared? How long and what is Kramer, great show? What is your personal zero tolerance? And what will you not stomach? And who puts chlorine in the water for the immigrant children? And where is the outcry? And what is the antithesis reality? And what is the BIE movement? And why are there no public in the U.S. public intellectuals? Are poets susceptible to media control? Where is the spirit of 60s rebellion? What does it take? Why are we continuing today protesting this country around white supremacy? And what about the unexposed scandals of Vietnam? The operations in Laos, like Dewey Canyon 2? And what is the U.S. karma with North Korea? And how many people died in the Korean War, both North and South? And what was America's role in the war with Korea? And who knows someone who served in World War II, in Korea, in Vietnam? And who was Judah Benjamin? And where does your water come from? And do you think black holes materialize out of clouds of dust? And what is the ancient dark matter experiment? And do infinite other worlds exist in space? And what does that mean? The dark experiment. You coined that term. And what is that second Big Bang? A solar system. And where we are, and do poets need to hire publicists? And why was Emily Baraka so vilified for his poem 9/11 alleged anti-Semitism? Why was he stripped of loyalty, denied notable prizes, and who holds the power of the secret codes other than the president? And what is the battle between the law enforcement agencies, and what is a alchemy, and what are the Bilderberg meetings, and what is your personal 100-year plan? Your 500-year plan, what is it? What is it? Your 1,000-year plan? And who were the Move 9? What is a citizen? And what is the most current case of egregious injustice? And what is a poem epics? And who is Jimmy Gansel? And what does Stolen Means mean to you? And why is the poetry discourse taking place primarily within academies? And what is the origin of the term capital C? And what are we really doing about the climate? And how many weapons are on the moon? Is anyone here working with? We're still in movements. And what is the warmest year on record? And how many migrants are in U.S. detention centers on any given day? And what are plutonium pits? And what are jellyfish babies? Thank you.
Give another hand to Anne and Dale to support the meeting. One last piece. Lucia was mentioning how Jonas was a great inspiration for this issue, and we wanted to come full circle with this. So we're very proud to present the first translation into Spanish of Jonas's poetry. So please welcome for a bilingual reading of them, Charity Coleman and Lucia Mekas.
Oh, okay. Anyone else wants to read it in English? And it's perfect.
Someone stands where he waded in midstream. Nothing seems to be bothering him, standing there, calm, stock still, watching. The float bobbing, fog drifting. Once again, it's raining. I lie here and listen to raindrops breaking on the yard, as though raining into the soul itself.
Alguien parado donde ladeaba a media corriente. No hay nada que parezca molestarle, parado ahí tranquilo, muy quieto, observando el flote oscilando, la neblina dispersando. Una vez más llueve, me acuesto aquí y escucho las gotas de lluvia estallando en el patio, como si lloviera sobre el alma misma.
It's just this image, just this river willow, a bird swings, just this burning sun in the lips of a stream, just this. Far from earth, above the clouds, I pose my question, what am I? No answers, no questions come up. Moonlight falling on airplane wings.
Es solo esta imagen, solo este sauce de río, un pájaro se columbia, solo este sol ardiente en los labios de un arroyo, solo esto. Lejos de la tierra, sobre las nubes hago mi pregunta, ¿qué soy yo? Sin respuestas, no suben las preguntas, luz de luna cayendo sobre las alas del avión.
And again I look, and again I wonder, and again raise questions. What was resolved as of yesterday revives again at dawn. Only now do I see There are no answers, no questions. Now I know it's true. Life has no boundaries.
Y otra vez veo, y otra vez me pregunto, y otra vez surgen preguntas. Lo que se resolvió el día de ayer revive otra vez al amanecer. Hasta ahora puedo ya ver que no hay respuestas, no hay preguntas. Ahora sé que es cierto, la vida no tiene fronteras.
Now I know it's true. It's not our blood flowing sets us apart from things. Now I know it's true. Love sets us apart from things. Now I know it's true. Like cloud wisps I fall the night through.
Ahora sé que es cierto, no es nuestra sangre corriendo que nos separa de las cosas. Ahora sé que es cierto, es el amor que nos separa de las cosas. Ahora sé que es cierto, como hilos de nubes caigo a través de la noche.
At the shore, waves keep pounding, pounding, a listless thunder on shoreline boulders. Salt water lashing the lighthouse torso. Thoughts all full of wind and unrest. The shore is deserted, but for kids who run screeching along the pier, but for the angered, enraged waves that keep pounding, a huddle, a panic, struck rowboats.
Olas siguen abatiendo, abatiendo, un trueno apático a la orilla del peñasco, agua salina azotando el torso del faro, pensamientos llenos de viento e inquietud, la costa está desértica, salvo por los niños que corren chirriando sobre el muelle, salvo por las olas enfurecidas, iracundas que siguen abatiendo a varios botes apanicados.
This morning, a calm sea full of menace, like a blue, hefty boulder lying there, morose, dark, the storm over. I sit on the shore watching the noontime sea. Sunlight falls in silver drops, air smells of pine sap.
Esta mañana un mar tranquilo, lleno de amenaza, como un peñasco azul pesado, acostado ahí, lúgubre, oscuro. La tormenta pasó. Me siento en la costa viendo el mar de mediodía, luz de sol cae en gotas plateadas, el aire huele a savia de pino.
I walk the harbor alone and look at a city burning at noon, behind shutters, siesta. There's not the least breeze among the leaves. I'm a lone soul with no place to go. Some entitled poems. A joyous tear or one of pain, the flowers it takes to calm down. A joyous tear or one of pain, the flowers it takes to calm down. Vacant, all white, quiet, nor hands the same, nor the eyes soundless as the white snow I turn, tumble down memories trail.
Una lágrima alegre o de dolor, las flores que toman calmarse, vacante, todo blanco, silente, las manos no son las mismas, ni los ojos, insonoro, como la nieve blanca caigo por la senda de la memoria, como la nieve blanca caigo por la senda de la memoria.
You go and you feel history over again. You go and you feel blood under your feet. Words come pouring, cast off drops, faraway fields, vague and abstract. You own thoughts in scraps, sounding remote. Gateways to the past start to sway. My life is an etching of letters in sand, the words and the ink, this paper in your hand. I write without any constraints. Content and form will settle the field. Memory still keeps bleeding.
Vas y sientes la historia de nuevo. Vas y sientes sangre bajo tus pies. Las palabras llueven gotas desechadas, praderas distantes, vagas, abstractas. Tus propios pensamientos en pedazos suenan remotos. Portales al pasado comienzan a mecerse. La vida es un grabado de letras en la arena, las palabras, la tinta, este papel en tus manos. Escribo sin coacción. Contenido y forma asentarán la pradera. La memoria sigue sangrando.
Closing. Where, oh my soul, are you going? Hungry, barefoot, all bloodied up, and still moaning? How far yet to my home, my home? Not that far, not that far, just up to the grave, the grave. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do.
¿Hacia dónde es que vas, oh alma mía hambrienta, descalza, sanguinolenta y aún gimiendo? ¿Qué tan lejos para llegar a mi casa, mi casa, mi casa? No tan lejos, no tan lejos como la tumba, la tumba. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do, re, mi, fa, sol, latido, latido, latido. Gracias.
Thank you once again for everyone for coming. Thank you to the readers. Thank you to the Rail for hosting. Stick around. Enjoy the rest of the night. Thank you.